So I think I'll probably, depending on how the next 2 weeks pan out, I could either be doing a lot of reading or not a lot of reading. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, those are the only two options.
Well, you'll be doing some reading, I guess.
Yeah. I could be doing some, a lot, or none reading over the next couple of weeks.
I won't poke holes in it, but I'm not sure if I do agree.
This conversation is taking an odd turn from where I was. But like,
Let's go beyond the first page. Let's go beyond the first page.
Welcome back, Second Pagers. This is Beyond the First Page podcast with siblings Phoebe, Phil, and Isaac. I'm Phoebe.
I'm Phil.
I'm Isaac.
And this is Club Meeting 53,
Maybe.
The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And this is the final episode in season 2 of Beyond the First Page podcast. We are headed into 2026. We want to thank all of our listeners for listening and reading along to as many books as they could get done this year. I hope you enjoyed the spread and that we introduced you to a few new books that you haven't read and had some good discussions for you to listen along with as well that you maybe agreed with or disagreed with. And I wanted to ask you guys what your 2026 goals are, specifically your reading goals, but it could be another goal too if you have something burning. I feel like both of you are people that have goals that you set, so these could be interesting for our listeners and spark some ideas for them. So Phil, I'll pass it over to you. You always have something going on.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to stick to reading. I want to read more Nobel winners, I think. Mm-hmm. I think they're usually pretty tough for me to get through. But I think like modern canon is really, I have not read a lot there. So I think I want to read those because I do think that like the risk reward is very high, where like it's very high that I will not like it, but when I do like it, I feel like it's like, wow, that book was really, really good. So want to read more of those. They're usually pretty tough to get through though.
Nice. That's a good goal. Any one in particular to start you off?
Not really. The Nobel Committee seems to be pretty into Eastern Europeans, and then also
as authors or as like subject matter.
As authors, and then also like Asian writers. I know we read Hong Kong this year, but and I did not enjoy hers. But I hope to enjoy more. So
nice.
We'll throw that out there.
Well, I'm sure you'll reach your goal. How many do you ever do like a number for how many you want to read or no?
No. I try in my life. I'm so goal oriented that I try to not set goals whenever I can.
For you, that's wise, I think, too. Mm-hmm. Isaac, what about you?
Well, I have a number goal, but I'm actually kind of jealous now of Phil having more of a content goal because that is probably actually more useful. Mm-hmm. Just because like a number really is meaningless if you're reading crappy books.
Right.
So, but I'm going to stick with mine because I'm put on the spot here. Both of my goals are rollover goals now. So 100 books. I'm not going to hit that this year, but I'm going to stick with 100 books just because I think if even without the content restriction, like if you read 100 books, chances
you're going to read
half of them are good or, going to be pretty
right.
Good. And then my second, I'm putting this out there for some accountability from our fans and my siblings.
Okay.
The first page will have a website in 2026.
I love it.
Looking forward to it.
Another rollover goal from 2025.
Yes.
As soon as I returned from fighting the war, I only paid for Bluehost or whatever. I can't remember what the network is called that I'm like building this website on, and did not do anything with it. So 2026. There will be a website live for the first page. So everyone
Big moves.
Continue to pester me about that because
It
I
will
need all the
happen.
accountability I can get. Yeah.
And I think it's going to be awesome when it does happen, which I have faith that, because for our listeners, the website will have all the books we've read, the ratings, a really like good snapshot for you, and then our all-time rolling list of best books. So from the podcast that we've read. So I think that's like a super useful tool, just because that's not really posted anywhere else, and it can be admittedly very overwhelming to try to rifle through what to read and what to follow for us. So yeah, I'm very excited for that, Isaac, and I have all the faith that you will accomplish that. So good to put it out into the universe too, for some accountability, as you said.
Yeah.
I think so. I have my reading goal was 125 this year. I'm at like 110 or 115, so I'm behind schedule for the year, but I'm still hopeful I might be able to complete it. I think I'll probably keep that same reading goal for this year. I really slowed down at the end of this year reading wise. I don't know why. But I think I did a lot of romantic fantasy this year for some reason, and I'm going to say as a goal I will not be reading romantic fantasy in 2026. And I will try to stick to some more classics. Just started Wuthering Heights, which is a book I've always wanted to read, so I'm happy about that. And also then maybe, like Phil said, some more award-winning books and books that like everyone has read, like Moby Dick and things like that are a little maybe harder to get through, but potentially, like you said, Isaac, less crap and more meaningful. So that's 2 goals right there. And then personal goals I haven't even really thought about yet. I think I do that in January. So more to come on the personal goals front.
I will say for our listeners, just because this is sort of like book fun facts, but probably my favorite fact about the authoring of any book is Herman Melville's Moby Dick, because Herman Melville got very into whaling. And he approached an editor or a publisher, and he's like, I want to write a book about whaling. And they were like,
No.
no one's going to read that. So he wrote a badass novel and then put it in the middle of the book about whaling, and that is Moby Dick. If you read Moby Dick, there are sections that have nothing to do with the plot. It's literally just about whaling. It's insane. Like, it's crazy that the book is so good that he could write it around the nonfiction book about whaling.
Well, maybe I'll read that and find out this year. So I'll look out for it.
See, I think Moby Dick is one of those ones that would be like, you find the old copy of it in some used bookstore and you put on your like wool sweater and do the Family Guy, sit there with your hands around a warm cup of tea.
For sure.
We have in our apartment, we have a Don Quixote from the 18th century. And there's 2 columns of text per page.
Wow.
It's like falling apart, but that's how I read Don Quixote. And it is a vibe for sure.
That's cool. How'd you get that?
Yeah. It was just in our apartment.
Nice.
And Pop-Up's bookshelf, yeah.
I was searching through apartment I was at home, like the apartment of our garage.
I was searching through it for any like valuable books. We don't own any, but
did we have any
old ones?
No, they all have a sticker, property of Westmont Hilltop Elementary.
Yeah. As you all know from listening to Dad's episode earlier this year. Yeah.
Just brings us books.
So this is a book. The Alchemist is a book about goals and accomplishing your purpose in life, and so that's kind of why the theme. It's a good New Year's book. And before we start talking about it, Isaac, would you just give us a summary in 15 seconds?
Yeah, so this book is about Santiago, who's a shepherd from Spain, and he meets this somewhat mythical king, I think, who tells Santiago of this treasure that can be found by the pyramids in Egypt. So Santiago goes off across Africa to find this treasure, and along it he meets this alchemist and learns kind of the language of the world and all about like finding his own personal legend. Turns out the treasure was buried in the church where Santiago met the king at the beginning of the book, but his personal legend was to seek this treasure and probably learn all that stuff along the way that he did learn.
Yeah. I just learned something, which is that the shepherd's name was Santiago. So that's exciting for all of us here right now.
And just to provide some background, Melchizedek is a priest in the Bible that basically gave like Abraham a ton of advice. And then Abraham gave him a tenth of his fortune. So that's like taken, that part is taken from the Bible. But then he's sort of this elusive character that is so righteous that like he gives Abraham one piece of advice, shows up for like one chapter, and Abraham gives him a tenth of his fortune. And then Paul mentions, I believe it's Paul, it's either Paul or Peter, in the epistles of that like Jesus is the Melchizedek of the New Testament. So is like, I mean, your take on mythical or not, but it is like a biblical reference.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
There were definitely a lot of
Biblical.
biblical undertones to this book, but I kind of actually liked it because it seemed like he was like there was the biblical, the boy Santiago was like a Christian, but then he travels to Africa across Muslim and Arab, like North Africa. So those were mixed in there, and he learns to accept those beliefs too. Like there was a saying that he started saying after he was working with the crystal merchant, Maktub, which is like it's written,
Right.
like like that's how it
Yeah.
is, which I thought was pretty cool. And they kind of like jump around from, and maybe this happens a lot in the world, but like there was like the universe, there was God, there was Allah, but they were all kind of like the same thing. And I kind of dig that. Like,
Well, I sort of
like
liked
easier
it too,
to buy into the religion.
It's for a broad audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good reminder as well that Abraham is also the patriarch of the Muslim religion.
Yeah.
So we always sort of forget that Christians share half of the book with Muslims, which is in half of the book with Jews, which is pretty interesting in itself. So in a world divided, we share a lot, actually.
And I think like he has these references of God and Allah, but you don't need those to seek your purpose. They can be an aid if you want them to be, and I think that's what this conversation is taking an odd turn from where I was. But I think there's like kind of a lot of religious nuts out there right now, and especially just what we in America are to be exposed to of like this Christian, like using religion as this excuse to be a
to be a bigot.
And I think this book does a great job, and like Phil said, they're kind of all intertwined, but you also don't need that, both good and bad. You don't need that as like a crutch, and that I really liked about reading this, and maybe this was on my mind a lot, obviously, because now we're talking about it somehow. But I just really liked that it was like this whole and it was like you don't need religion as this crutch or this excuse to do something one way or the other. Like the world is kind of already in motion, and people have a lot of different beliefs of what that motion is. But if you find yourself becoming a dick and your excuse is, my religion told
God
me to do
told
this,
me to be a dick.
you probably
your religion probably didn't tell you to do
Right.
that.
Yeah, you probably need to take a step back and realize that, not like the world is moving not your way, and you are fighting. That's like pushing against. You're using that as a crutch, and you're pushing against those beliefs to get to where you want to be.
Right.
And that's not a natural way of how things are going.
Yeah, or meant to have gone. Yeah.
So I don't know if I said that correctly, but I'm actually glad I said it because
it's been on your mind.
Obviously, it's been weighing on me a little bit.
I do think that that's like sort of the central point of this book, though. I listened to this sermon actually, but that's called the Dandelion Theology, and basically it's just this pastor that every time he goes for a walk with his daughter, they pause at every single dandelion, and they're like, "This is beautiful," and then it takes them forever to take a walk, and he's like, what more are we here for than appreciating the world around us? And like that is sort of the journey, I guess, that he's talking about here. It's not about the treasure, it's about everything that you got from going to the pyramids and back.
Yeah.
And so I just actually listened to that yesterday. So I think that that's like an interesting little tie. So maybe it's been on my mind as well, Isaac.
I had something that stuck out to me, and I was trying to explain this to Jaden about this book, is that this whole like personal legend thing, and for me, family and like human connection is I find to be like part of my personal legend, like my goal. So it was a bit confusing to me when he had to leave Fatima because it felt like that could have been his personal. But then the alchemist said, you know, if you had stayed there with her, you would have been happy for a little bit, and then you would have needed to pursue this thing and she would have known that you needed to pursue it. So I thought that like conflicts with how I view the world a bit, but at the same time, it's understandable. Like it made me reflect, like you have to have more than just that person. You know, you have to do something for yourself and reach your own personal thing and still have those connections and have those experiences along the way, like you guys were saying. But the message of love, I think, too, is definitely very tied in, and also the religious message. But I think love was the other thing, but it wasn't really like the point of this book. But there was definitely themes of it in it.
Yeah, love was one of the language that everyone speaks. I actually wrote it down.
Love is the language everyone speaks.
Yeah. There were many languages that everyone speaks, but love was one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the book, that like the little story about the guy with this oil on his spoon walking around the castle. If I could say the important parts of life in one story, it would always be that. Which is also a little bit why I did not like this book, actually. I'm talking very highly of it, but I did not really enjoy it. I've heard that in a graduation speech, and I got it then, and like reading this book did not really give me
anything
much more. It was just sort of fraught with these, I don't want to say shallow, like philosophical bends, but things that you can just hear say that's like a quote on your fridge,
right,
where you're just like, that is cute. And not really like this like strident belief or philosophy behind why this is true. And I frankly don't really, I think this book is encouraging maybe, but I sort of think most of it is BS.
It wasn't, I don't know if that was, I would say it's BS. I agree with you. It was shallow. And I think there was almost so many lessons being imparted that it was hard to grasp a single one.
I do agree with you, Phil, or what we're all saying. Like, there's just so many lessons. Like, you could read this book and everyone could be like, well, the moral of the story was it's in the journey, not the end. And that's like a little thing you put in your thing. Or you could say, if you know, like, love is a really important thing that can propel you to your goals. You need someone to be there to support you. There's a little lesson. You know, give your all to something that you really believe in is your little lesson. Like, this book is filled with them. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, but that is the downgrade to it, because you do finish this book and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to? What's my one takeaway?
Right.
Yeah. And so that's like the plus and the minus, right? Whereas I agree with you. I think it is more detrimental than it is good, because everyone could read this, could get something. So every time you read it, you get something out of it.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's a 2-hour read, fun, maybe one of those ones you read once a year, you pick up something new from it, and you go on your way. And that's what you kind of use as your mantra for a little bit. But as like a true, I would imagine this is written as to be like a self-help book.
Like a fable.
Like in that genre.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like there is no clear... like I like the self-help books, and I like reading self-help books. I've read a lot of them, of like, do these things and your outcome should be this. And that is more useful than this kind of fable, multiple little bumper sticker lessons all into a 2-hour book.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you're taking like copious notes or you're reading it to like, it said something at one point and you want to read it again to get that purpose reinstated to you. I don't know. Like,
Or if you just
Yeah.
you have a lot of time to read
And
a
think.
section of it and like sit there and kind of like think,
So here's the
Yeah.
thing. I don't think
maybe
the book works if you do that, because I don't think any of these points are very
They're not deep.
ironclad.
Yeah.
You can come up with a bunch of counterexamples why you don't want to risk your sheep every single time you can.
Yeah.
Like that seems maybe like a horrible life strategy. Actually,
I had a
Like-
quote that Phil, it kind of is going along through what you said, because I did try to write something down to say like, okay, this is something I never thought about before. And it's the shepherd was talking, or the alchemist was talking to the boy, the shepherd, and he says, tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself. Like sometimes you have this anxiety about something. And one of my biggest fears is like close familial people dying. I would say it's a bigger fear than most normal people. Like obviously everybody fears that happening. Mine is like I daily think about it. And then I was like, yeah, you're right. Like the fear is worse than it actually happening. And I was like, no, I think if my husband died, it would be worse.
Yeah, like
it would actually be worse to have that happen than just fear it.
Yeah, but you could spin that to be like you worrying about it is like there's nothing you can
do about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there's you worrying about it isn't not having him die.
Exactly. Like so I could definitely spin it in that way, and that's it's like the anxious.
Sorry, I kind of took away from your point, but that's a good
point. I'm saying like it was not. Yeah, I'm saying like that quote, like you kind of what you were saying, Phil, where it's like on the surface you think it's kind of a good quote. And you're like, oh, this could be something, and then you think about it more, and you're like, actually, don't think that's true.
Yeah. I will say what's one good thing about this book for me, sorry to shift the conversation a little bit, but I love the Middle Eastern setting. Could read books about the Middle East and jinn and camels pretty much forever. It's great.
Yeah, the Oasis with like the tribes warring and they had to like dwell in the Oasis and stuff is cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My favorite part of the book was the and I hope as I talk about it and think about it more, it doesn't become one of those ones that maybe
wasn't
not that
cool.
Good.
Phil will poke a hole in it.
But is the whole lesson about to listen to your heart? The Alchemist is like, listen to your heart. It is always speaking to you about what you kind of want and what you should do. And I do think that is true. That this is to bring in a little bit of the religious aspect of this book. Back in like middle school or high school, John Brecht, who was like our
youth pastor,
like after school youth pastor, like I can't remember what the lesson was, but I remember him telling us like, if, when you make a decision and you're at peace with it, like that is the right decision to make. When you're like, having to choose between two things and you like either simulate you choose it or you do choose it and you're like, wow, I feel like so much lighter. Mm-hmm. I feel like I feel good about this. Like that's you at peace. And that is like, you made the right decision there. And I think that's kind of the same thing as this, like, listen to your heart. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we know what the right thing to do is. We know actually what we want. And then we let a lot of outside influences, be it other people, what the world thinks we should do, what is easier, like all come into play and like kind of cloud that up and make what should be kind of easy decisions difficult. But when you are at peace with the decision, like you have listened to your heart, and that feels really good. Mm-hmm. So I liked that part of the book a lot.
I like that part too. And I think you're right. For the most part, you do know if you made the right decision or not. Seemingly.
Yeah. I won't poke holes in it, but I'm not sure if I do agree.
But, I mean, like, I don't think it could be applied to. I don't think it would be applied to things where you can like you made a decision and then things turned out poorly, and you're like, well, obviously that was the wrong decision.
Right.
It's not like it's not decisions where there's like you do this and then something happens and then wow, that outcome wasn't good. Mm-hmm. But it's decisions like I remember it was in high school because it was like deciding what colleges to go to. Like any college you go to,
it's going to be great.
it doesn't matter really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you make that decision and then feel like you're choosing between two things. You choose one, you're like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, what if I did this? And then you make the other one and you're like, this feels good.
Yeah.
And then
When you're always picking things, just pick one, and then if you're disappointed,
Pick the other one.
know you should pick the other one. Yeah. I think for me, I would be more inspired by like, hear your heart, maybe don't always, or listen to your heart, maybe don't always follow your heart. Like, you should know, but also you need to be reasonable with it. Because I do think that that's sort of
this
where
does
you
say
get
the quote is, your heart is always speaking, listen to it.
Listen to
right.
it.
So maybe that's what he's saying. Because I do think a lot of zealotry is unfortunately from people just with so strong moral conviction.
Right. They think they're right.
And then they keep.
Yeah, that go chamber.
And they don't really reconsider it. But no, I do think that then as the quote is laid out is very good. Listen to your heart, it's always speaking. I think I guess I don't like books that are just, if they're going to be self-help, let them be self-help. Don't try to make it a plot unless you're going to actually commit to the plot. Like, the plot sucked. Like, there was no plot. Like, the plot was bad. So, like, don't just like
just make it a
do a
self-help
fake plot.
Yeah.
Or make it a fable. Like, make it.
I think that was the attempt.
I
think the attempt was a
4
fable.
hours. Fable is not 4
2
hours.
maybe,
Like, people, I think if you say you read The Alchemist, you think, oh, the book, not the fable.
Right.
If you read Aesop's story about a spider, no one's calling that a book. You know what I mean? So that's sort of my thing.
I think this book mostly taught me that I have the memory the size of a pea, because I couldn't remember this book at all. And that we had read, we're reading upcoming a couple books I had read previously or thought I had read. And again, like, a lot of things I forgot, which is alarming. So maybe that's a 2026 goal. Strengthen the mind.
I think maybe that's like a good sign that it's not really
a great book.
Actually good life book. Yeah. If you can't remember the life lessons that it's teaching you. But
I think the first time I really enjoyed it, I gave it a 5 on Goodreads when I went back to rate it. And I think I would give it a 3 now, probably. Yeah. It's time of life, I think, though. This book there's nothing offensive about it. It
definitely is a time. Yeah. If it catches you in the right moment,
it could be very good.
Or a one lesson in there, one refrigerator magnet could catch you in the right moment and really help you out.
Yeah. I wouldn't say not.
So that's why I gave it a 3 too.
Okay.
That's why I gave it a 3 too, because it's like you said, it's not offensive. So I wouldn't tell people, if someone was like,
I'm reading this,
I'm thinking about reading The Alchemist, I wouldn't be like, don't do it.
Well, and actually
we've read some books on this podcast where if someone said, I'm going to read this, be like, do not read The Life of Van Gogh.
I was going to say, I'm interested in Vincent.
But honestly, we have actually referenced the Van Gogh, The Life, so many times that I'm like,
because it was a traumatic experience.
No. But I actually feel like I think that I've mentioned it to other people, like, knowing about him more. Syphilis, for instance, I didn't really know how bad that disease was. But he's come up a couple times, and I've been like, Van Gogh, he was a real nut, and I could speak with some authority on that,
Yeah, that's true. I do definitely, like, often am intimidated in the art scene, but when Van Gogh comes up and I'm like, that guy, I can, really say a lot about it.
How often are you finding yourself in the art scene, Phil?
I dabble.
It honestly has come up a few times for me too, where I've been able to, like, reference him. Yeah.
I think one of the things that is always a boon of a book that you don't really like is if it's short. So there you go.
That's what I was going to say earlier.
If someone was going to commit to The Alchemist, I would be like, everyone's got 3 hours to waste on a book.
And I was going to say too, I have a couple people, I think Marianne, your wife, Phil, is one of them, that are trying to reach their reading goal. And I said, I have a book for you.
She is gaming the system for sure.
But I think The Alchemist certainly that's a book you read.
True. I mean, the foil the plot that Isaac did not want to fall into for 2026, Marianne falls into every single year. So December is full of trash books
Yeah.
from Ariane.
Yeah.
Well, she could read some
Claire
novellas.
Keegan.
All the Claire
She
Keegan.
knows
Claire
they
Keegan.
aren't trash. She claims that she's had them on her reading list forever, but
Yeah.
There are some good
all
short
When they
books.
24
pop
hours.
up in December.
Yeah.
They happen to, yes. I think if you liked this book or you're looking for another book, actually, speaking of short stories and Claire Keegan, I said Foster. I think that has a few different really good messages you can take away. And actually, even small things like these that we've just read, she really makes you think. And I think she doesn't throw in too many life lessons or thoughts where you can really cling on to one and get that message strong through the book. And the plots are great. So anything by Claire Keegan, but Foster in particular, that was my recommendation. Isaac, what about you? If you liked The Alchemist, what would you recommend someone read?
I would recommend The Greatest Salesman in the World. It's by O.G. Mandino, maybe. And it is a slightly less plot with more step-by-step self-help, but kind of towards the same thing of like making your whole life better. So it's still not like super, applicable. Because it's about becoming just, well, it sounds bad, like the greatest version of yourself or whatever. But
Yeah, that's good though.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
I actually read this because after I read Matthew McConaughey's like memoir / self-help book, and he credits The Greatest Salesman in the World for his success. Yeah.
How is that?
So-
Yeah,
book,
I've
Isaac?
heard
How
really
is
good
Matthew
things about
McConaughey's
that book.
self-help?
I would also give it a 3.
Okay.
I would never tell
Do
someone
you feel like
not
you're in a
to read
Lincoln?
it. No.
He
I would
reads it
never
though.
tell someone.
He reads the audiobook.
I think so.
That's why people
yeah.
like it. Yeah.
He's a weird dude.
Yeah. I like him a lot. So that's why I like the book.
Mhm.
But and it's fun. It's like you learn about his past
is
and like
interesting.
becoming an actor and stuff. So
Yeah.
But yeah, my recommend. I mean, go ahead and read Green Lights too while you're at
Yeah.
it. But The Greatest Salesman in the World is, if you really like The Alchemist, check that one out.
Yeah. Phil, what about you? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to switch mine up. I think I would go 1001 Nights, which is just a collection of Middle Eastern folk tales
Oh, cool.
that are all sort of, yeah, it's usually like listed amongst the best books written. Like it's very popular in the Middle East, but it has not really made its way to the American school system, at least. So I think it's good for, right? I think it's good for the reasons that we sort of said, how everyone can get something from this book, but unfortunately a lot of the quotes that we mentioned were 2/3 of the way through. So you got to get to that point. Whereas this is just a collection of folktales. And so you can sort of get that point just upon opening it to the middle and reading a random one.
That sounds really cool.
It's a little darker than this
Okay.
one, a little more like Hans Christian Andersen, like OG, like Cinderella gets her feet chopped off or whatever the thing is. You know what I
I
mean?
didn't know that.
But no, I don't know if it's Cinderella, but in Hansel and Gretel are
They're darker.
the real stories that are
Yeah.
darker. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, this is our second year on the podcast. We're very excited for the third year, and we're doing something a bit different, and we'll talk about it too next time. But just really quickly for our listeners, we're going to be doing chapters, we're calling them. And so they're smaller segments than the quarters that we were doing, like first quarter, second quarter, third quarter book list. And they're going to have a theme, so we can really give readers the best we think of a certain theme. And then if you like a particular book within that theme, we're going to recommend it and say, if you have 3 options of, say, for instance, our next one is going to be detective novels. So if you have 3 options of detective novels, here's what they're like, and if you like this kind of book, this is which one of the 3 you should read. Because we recognize 25 books a year is a lot, so giving people a more clear roadmap on what to read and in a way that's broken down by genre. And we're hoping that you as listeners and readers will respond to that. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We're very excited to do something a little different next year, and again, just excited to talk books with both of you in 2026. And this is a bi-weekly reminder to call someone that you love, tell them that you love them, tell them about a good book that you have recently read, and until we talk again, stay classy second pagers. We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Happy New Year.
Let's go beyond the first page.